Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Joe Wilson, South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Singh and Secretary Billingsley. Thank you for your service, and it's so positive to hear your messages. And in particular, Secretary Billingsley, you mentioned about the impact of the sanctions. The President was very courageous to pull out of the flawed Iranian nuclear deal. So, Secretary Singh, you are absolutely correct. They never stopped their policies of death to America and death to Israel. And so it is just refreshing that we have a president who has made promises. He's keeping his promises to protect American families. In line with that, I was really impressed, Secretary Billingsley, with your presentation of the effect on the Iranian economy. Just extraordinary. And we're hopeful for the people of Iran that this great people of Persian heritage, that they can reestablish a free and democratic society. I also was encouraged, Secretary Singh, by your pointing out that visiting with 30 different countries around the world to promote cooperation. It somehow is misreported by the negative media that nothing's being done. So thank you. I hope somehow that might be picked up, and because it is really positive. And for Secretary Billingsley, what role do you see for Congress in the process of implementing the sanctions in line with the new policies? Are there any new tools that we could provide from Congress with, I think would be bipartisan, just as Ranking Member Eliot Engel did not approve of the Iranian nuclear deal. We have worked bipartisan together, particularly on this committee.
Thank you, Congressman. And your continued support, I think your support in the context of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I have to tell you how crucial it is that we have fully staffed embassies globally, particularly in the regions where we are dealing with Iranian aggression, Russian interference activities, and so on. It's not always the case that I'm actually able to engage with a confirmed ambassador in some of these key countries. So that would be an area for help. From a parliamentary engagement standpoint, as you work with other governments and other parliamentarians, reinforcing the need for countries to establish and enforce effective anti-money laundering regimes is so crucial. I can't tell you how important that is. I mentioned Panama, where there's a lot of offshore shell company formation in Panama, but other countries like Latvia, Cyprus, they need help as well, and they need encouragement. In terms of additional authorities, we'd be happy to work with the committee on that. I have testified in front of House Financial Services about the fact that I have found in previous positions the ability to offer rewards information that leads to the identification of suspicious bank accounts or other things to be a valuable tool in the counterterrorism context. So measures such as that might also be very helpful. One key point on maintaining, and I think Ranking Member Engel makes a good point about the importance of doing things in a multilateral context as best we can. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes we do have to act on our own to protect our own interests and equities. But in the case of Iran, it is absolutely the case that we enjoy broad support. We, in fact, received the support of all 6 of the Gulf countries to designate the Leadership Council of Hezbollah. That is something that has never happened before. That's a big deal, and we are appreciative for the Gulf nations that they are supporting us on the Iran portfolio.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And Secretary Singh, again, it was refreshing to hear your reports of working with other countries, how meaningful that can be. And particularly back to Hezbollah, it remains as one of the most deadly terrorist organizations in the world, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans. In addition to funding from Iran, Hezbollah runs a sophisticated network of criminal activities to fund its terrorist activities in Lebanon and throughout the world. Secretary Singh, what are the steps by the Department to stop flow of resources to Hezbollah, particularly from Iran?
Thank you, Congressman, for that question. You've hit on exactly the type of thing that we are trying to prevent. We have found that cutting off Iranian access from the global financial system cripples its ability to funnel money to organizations like Hezbollah. As Assistant Secretary Billingsley has detailed, the fall in the value of the Iranian currency has also had a huge impact on the Iranian government's ability to fund illicit activities by terrorist organizations. One of our key goals is to prevent Iran from supporting an organization like Hezbollah.
Again, thank both of you for service. It's extraordinary. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brad Sherman.